Thank you for joining us on WQPH, 89.3 FM Shirley, Fitchburg, Queen of Perpetual Help, and another edition of Local Matters. Recently, WQPH attended the 2025 Worcester Catholic Men's Conference, and at that conference, we met wonderful Father Donald Calloway. And he was presenting a talk called No Turning Back, A Witness to Mercy, and it's an extraordinary talk about his journey to becoming a priest. And we are presenting it now on WQPH's Local Matters. The first half this week, the second half the next. Don't miss it.
Hi, this is Father Donald Calloway from the Marians of the Immaculate Conception. You're listening to WQPH 89.3 FM. And I want to let you know that I lead a lot of pilgrimages. Every year I go to Fatima, to Italy, to Poland, to Mexico. Pray about joining me on a Catholic pilgrimage. It could change your life. And my website is fathercalloway.com. And you have to spell out the father part. So fathercalloway.com. God bless you.
It is now my job to introduce Father Donald Calloway. Now, many of you will say, I know who he is. He is the surfing priest. And yes, you will probably remember that after your presentation today. It happens to be his favorite hobby. But what he's going to do is tell you a story about his own journey to faith and to Christ. He'll tell you about how he was a high school dropout. He will tell you he'd been kicked out of foreign countries. He'll even tell you that he had been thrown in jail and institutionalized. He'll tell you that, but you'll have a hard time really understanding it because of the way he professes his faith. Today, Father Donald Calloway is Vicar Provincial and Vocation Director for the Marian Fathers of the Immaculate Conception. That's quite a long way from the beginning I just described to you. He's authored 15 books. He's a well-known speaker on divine mercy because he has lived it. He is also very well versed in speaking about St. Joseph and the Virgin Mary. And again, I said his favorite hobby is surfing, but you're going to hear a whole lot more than that. Please join me in welcoming and thanking him for giving us his time, Dr. Donald Calloway, who will talk about No Turning Back, A Witness to Mercy.
All right, thanks, brothers. So I'm a doctor now. Sweet. Doctor of souls, I guess you could say. All right, so we already prayed. We're prayed up. So let's get going here because I only got 55 minutes to do this, and I could give this talk for like 3 hours. And guys, what I want you to remember when you hear this talk, because I'm in a privileged position right now because I got a microphone and you're just sitting there listening to me, all of you could give a testimony to what the Lord has done in your life and what he's doing in your life. I'm just so blessed because I'm a priest and I get to travel around and talk about my own experience of God's love and mercy. The God that I didn't know, the God that I didn't want to know, the God I didn't even think existed. With that in mind, I want you to keep in your mind, guys, my story is going to be different from yours in the details, but guys, I can tell you right now, okay, I'm not Padre Pio, I don't read souls, so don't panic, but I don't need to read souls. You guys got baggage, you got wounds, you got issues, all of you, in different areas, but all of you are here for a reason because you realize that you want to experience a deeper conversion, a coming to love and know Christ more, and to get rid of a lot of the stuff that's holding you back. That's why you're here today. Maybe you're here also because your wife kind of bought the ticket or something, who knows? And I'm going to mention at the end, if you really want to impress your wife when you go back home, you can say, honey, Father Calloway said he leads pilgrimages. Let's check him out. You want to go to Europe with Father Calloway, honey? That'd be a really good thing for your wife and a really good thing for me. It helps my religious community when we meet new people and we get support. So I'll tell you about those at the end. Okay, guys, so let's get moving here. So I've been a priest for 22 years, and here's the crazy thing, guys. This is the last thing I ever thought that I would be doing in life. I wanted absolutely nothing to do with religion, especially Christianity, and especially Catholicism. I thought Christianity was an institution of unscientific medieval morons. That's what I thought. Isn't that what basically, mainstream media tells you today? The History Channel, CNN, MSNBC, you betcha. You betcha. That's what I thought. Why did I think that way? Well, when I was born, my parents were completely hedonistic, lived for pleasure. My mom, beautiful woman, still is, but she was a lovely looking woman. And she was of the world. And I was conceived when she was 17, born when she was 18, and her first marriage was a train wreck, a complete disaster. My father, married to such a beautiful woman, was a player. He said he was, had overtime at night working at the factory. Yeah, right, buddy. He was out chasing other women besides his beautiful wife, my mother. Insane that a man can have such beauty and yet he jacks it up, and he jacked it up. I never knew him when I was a baby. My mom left him. She married a second time. Dad number 2 was worse than dad number 1. He was a disaster. See, my mom had to join the Navy to get a job because he didn't even want to work. She went to boot camp in Florida, left me with him in a trailer home, and the things that I saw for 3 months that he was doing with other women besides my mother, his wife, horrible. That set me on a path of thinking that's what it meant to be a man, just to score chicks, just to get some. That's what I thought life was all about, because that's the example I was shown. Like my grandpa, who was married 8 times. It's funny, just the other day I saw a meme. It was funny. Who makes these things? It said, in days of old, men used to have 3 or 4 children. Now, children have 3 or 4 dads. And then the person sitting next to him says, yeah, that climate change is something else. It's amazing. Everything's blamed on climate change today, right? So, here I am, an American kid, got 2 dads already. The second one, train wreck, she divorced him. I got my 3rd father before I was 10 years old, a military officer. Now, he was a little different. He seemed to be a little more refined than the previous ones. But I wondered, how long is this guy going to be around? But they got married. And 2 new things were brought into my life when I was 10 years old. One was a new last name. So my last name was Calloway. Praise God for adoption, my brothers. Because up until that point, I had my biological father's last name, which was Croc. Brutal, unless that's your last name. It's nice. It's nice. It's nice. Thank God for adoption. So I'm known as Calloway now, not Croc, and Christianity. So I was baptized when I was 10 years old, because I wasn't baptized as a baby. My mom didn't buy into that stuff. So why was I baptized? Did all of a sudden, did they get religious? No, not at all. My mom and my new dad, and when I say dad now, I mean dad number 3, he was Episcopalian, but it was a name, and name only. Wasn't practicing Christianity. But his parents, my new grandparents, and I got grandparents all over the place, right? I got like 6 of them. So they said, you've adopted this boy. He's got the family name. He's never been baptized. How sad. Baptize that boy. But they were like, nah, we're not into religion. That's not what we do. That's what you do, but not for us. This is our family. But grandparents being grandparents, they just kept nagging, and they were like, baptize him, baptize him, baptize him, baptize him. So they were like, fine, shut up. So they got me baptized at a church where they didn't have to have any instruction, no preparation. They could just go in, make a meeting, and get it done. So that's what they did in an Episcopalian church in Virginia Beach. No preparation needed. I remember it. I was 10. What do I remember? No family was invited, no pictures taken, because it didn't mean anything to us. All my parents wanted was that little 8x11 certificate to give to the grandparents, basically, done, shut up, stop talking about this, okay? I remember some dude poured water over my head, and then we went outside and around a picnic table and ate donuts. Welcome to Christianity, That's all. We never went back to church. We never talked about God. We never even went at Christmas or Easter. We didn't, no. As a family, not our thing, not what we're into. So now as a military family, because dad number 3 was a military officer, we moved to Southern California, the early 80s. Oh, it was awesome. Because there was a generational shift that took place. So my parents were the Woodstock generation. They were the people, women that burned things in the streets for their feminine rights, and men who were, whatever, skirting out of wars and stuff. That was my parents' generation. They actually had the super cool music. I'll give them that, for sure. But my generation was the progeny of the hippies. So when I went to Southern California, something called MTV had just come out, 1981. Now where you could see music. It wasn't just audible. You could see what the songs were about. Because sometimes, if you listen to music, you don't know what they're singing about. Like, Rocket Man, I know he's British, but still, you're like, bruh, what? You don't know what he's saying. You all act like you do when you're singing in your car, but you don't know what the lyrics are. Or so many other songs. But now on TV, you could see, hot for teacher. She's smoking, right? You can see what's being portrayed by the musicians. Whether it was bands that I listened to that went by the name Judas Priest. I didn't know what Judas was. I didn't know what a priest was. It didn't matter. Or all the other stuff that I used to listen to. Your Ozzy Osbourne albums, The Ultimate Sin, Do It With Abandon. Nothing but smoking hot chicks on every album cover. Just do it. And what was I taught in the school system in America? What pretty much everyone is taught now in the school system in America is that I and you are nothing but a bunch of monkeys. You're a monkey. So if you think you're special, if your parents subscribe to some religion with dogmas and whatnot, that's medieval nonsense. See, they're unscientific morons. These institutions are oppressive, but we now have been liberated by science. See, because we come from water, somehow we got on land, starfish, or maybe a dolphin, they say they're really smart, and then we became monkeys, and now we're just a bunch of upright apes. So if any of your family members are professing some kind of religion, especially Christianity, that's stupid. That's what every single one of my teachers taught me and my generation in the public school system in America. Seriously, not joking. Even my PE teacher would fit it in somehow. It was everywhere. And so I grew up thinking, religion is so stupid. You got to be just a total idiot to buy into any of that nonsense. I remember specifically Mr. Pear. One day I'm going to meet that dude again at one of these conferences. I rat that dude out constantly at these events. He comes to class one day, and he's just mocking the daylights out of Christianity. Oh, man, he's just making it look so stupid. And I'm like, totally, dude. And all my buddies, totally, dude. And he's basically saying, there's people out there that believe that there's a God, and that there's a great maker of this, and we're going somewhere, there's a heaven and a hell. And he goes, this is all just cosmic goo. There's no rhyme or reason to this. We come from nothing, so we've been downgraded, okay? So there's no great purpose to any of this. And that was sweet freedom to me because I was seeing it lived out like that. Because, I would have a few friends whose parents would say they were Christian. I'd sleep over at my buddy's house, and the people who were Bible-thumping people, talking about Jesus, right, what would I find under their bed? Pornography, condoms. Oh, the Christians, they act like they're better than everybody else, but that dude's a total perv. And I see she's got a little something, too, to pleasure herself with. These are sick, twisted people just like me. And yet they say that there's a Jesus, right? I heard about Jesus. Who hasn't? As an American kid growing up, between Bugs Bunny and Scooby-Doo and Popeye, Hanna-Barbera back in my day watching cartoons, which is basically the babysitting method for my generation, I would be flipping through the commercial break and I'd see a dude talking about Jesus, preacher man. And he was a weird dude, man. All of them weird. Because they would be talking about Jesus, like just in crazy ways, like, be healed in the name of Jesus, in the name of Jesus. Glory, glory, hallelujah, in the name of Jesus, right? I'm like, whoa. Bro, you're a lunatic, dude. Get a job, you loser. Like, you're just hard up for cash, dude. Obviously, because he would be talking about miracles and for Jesus, give me, 1-800, give me all your money so I can basically pay for my wife's makeup, who was like caked on her face. It was such a scam. It was so obvious, so obvious. So I thought, I want to stay as far away from religion, but especially Christianity as possible, because these morons think that a man rose from the dead and walks on water. That's what I thought. Why? Because, I used to watch this cartoon about a coyote and a roadrunner. That coyote died 1,000 times falling off a cliff with an anvil burying it 50 feet into the ground, but he came back to life and would run across water, but it's a cartoon, bro. That ain't reality. That's for children. Here you are, a grown man talking about somebody who walks on water and rose from the dead. You're a loser, dude. Become a carpenter, become some skilled laborer. This is insane what you're telling people. And I remember I had an aunt who was super into religion, Christianity. Every time I coughed, she'd come over and want to pray over me. I'm like, you're a freak, man. Get away from me. I couldn't stand this stuff. I mean, it was abhorrent to me. So in Southern California, I started drinking, started smoking weed, started looking at Mrs. January, February, and March. Oh, man, I was jacked up. You know how old I was? 12. Man, that was back then. Now, you know, statistics now say that young boys as young as 11 or 10 are now exposed to hardcore pornography on their smartphones that their parents willingly give them. Sick, demented stuff. Back then, when I was a kid, it was still kind of normal. I mean, it was wicked and perverse and all that, but it was usually a man and a woman. Now, the things that young boys are seeing today, holy moly. The things that they're being encouraged to do. You know, back in my day, if me or one of my buddies wanted to go into a girl's bathroom, it's because we wanted to sneak a peek. We didn't think we were a chick, right? But today, you can identify as a giraffe and be affirmed by it at the highest institutions of learning in our country. Nuts, bonkers, wacko stuff, guys. It's everywhere. It's polluted and poisoned everything. So back in my day, I was just trying to score. And my dad comes home, dad number 3, and he says, we're going to move again. We were in Virginia Beach, and we're in San Diego, which is a dream. San Diego is America's finest city. No offense to Worcester, right? But the weather's a little better, you know. So he says we're going to move, and I'm like, where? I'm thinking Honolulu. But Virginia Beach, San Diego, better be saying Honolulu, bro. That's not what he said. He said we're going to move to Japan. And I'm like, no, we ain't. Donnie don't do Japan. Okay, I'm not going to Japan. You take your little family there, because you're not my real daddy anyway, right? Pulled that on him. I ain't going to Japan, bro. But I had no choice. So we moved to Japan, and I was mad. I was ticked off. You taking me out of Southern California, this dream place where everything that's happening in the States it's here. I was so mad. So as soon as we got to Japan, I looked for all the troubled kids. Super easy to find. Right? Today, everybody's like, oh, you can't judge. Whatever, dude. Of course you can. If I see a dude back in the day, my day, who had an Iron Maiden t-shirt on with studs, long hair, he probably not praying a rosary. I'm just saying. He probably token up a fat one in all likelihood. Or if I see a little girl who's wearing dental floss, she probably got daddy issues. That girl got affirmation issues. All I got to do is say she's beautiful. I got access to whatever I want from this broken little girl. It was easy. Still is easy, but everybody today's triggered. Everybody's so, oh no, you can't say. Come on, get a brain. Of course you can. So I saw them, I found them, I started hanging out with them, and man, in California, I was like in first gear. In Japan, popped that puppy into 5th overdrive. I went so hard. I started doing things, I'm not even sure what half this stuff was that I was doing, that I was snorting, that I was inhaling like butane from lighter things and gas and drinking cough syrup because it had codeine in it and all insane stuff. Started doing heroin and crazy stuff. But I liked it. Because remember, I'm just a monkey, and so are you. So I didn't want any other monkeys telling me what I can and cannot do. My body, my rights. You don't infringe upon me. I don't care what uniform you got or what you salute to or who you think you are. You observe something just to get by. I'm here just to score monkeys, just to do my thing. And I fell in love with Japan. If you were a white boy growing long hair in the late 80s in Japan, you were Bon Jovi. You were part of Motley Crue. You were rock star status immediately. Every Japanese girl wanted you. It was unbelievable. I loved it. It was fantastic. I was like, this is where I want to be, So I was happy to be there. But there was a problem. I still had to go to this thing called school and whatnot, and I wasn't interested, so I stopped going. To this day, I don't have a high school diploma. I got degrees out there yin-yang now, but I don't have a high school diploma. So I dropped out because I didn't want to, do that stuff. I wanted to just go. I was learning new surf breaks, right? Surfed all my life. But in Japan, it wasn't surfed at that time. I was surfing places, never even saw a surfboard, perfect waves that nobody had discovered, nobody knew about. It was an absolute dream. So I ran away. But did I get a job? Was I seeking gainful employment? Heck no. I got hooked up with an organization called the Yakuza. A lot of white people don't know what that is. Anybody know what that is? Some? Surprisingly, quite a few of you do. It's Japanese mafia. It's serious stuff. They don't fully initiate little white boys, right? But they use me as a drug mule. They're all tattooed up. They get one or both of their pinky top half cut off when you're fully initiated. They just use me as a drug mule because nobody would ever suspect that the white kid with long hair, with the members only clothes, remember those if you're my age, with all the zippers, I would have so much money on me, oh my goodness. This is how crazy. I would have like the equivalent in yen of like $10,000 to $15,000 on me at a time. Taking it to different pachinko parlors, casinos, to different clubs. Nobody suspected that I was doing this. It was unbelievable. And I had girls twice my age throwing themselves at my feet. The most beautiful Asian women you can possibly imagine. It was a dream, but there was a problem, big problem. I was causing an international scene. The American government was looking for me. The American military presence in Japan was looking for me, and it was a nightmare. Sometimes you hear about our American military personnel. Some young sailor goes out, gets wasted one night, and does something with a young local girl, embarrasses our country and our military. I wasn't even in the military. And this was happening. It was a nightmare. And my poor mom, oh, my poor mom. You know, my mom's name is Lucida Bianco. Super Italian. How was she not a Catholic? She wasn't. So my mom, third marriage, now on the rocks, because my dad has taken heat from his superiors in the military. You know, he never got promoted again in the military because of me. Never made commander. Had to remain, captain because of me. Had to retire early because of me. Did I care? Please, I didn't care. You're just a monkey. You're just a monkey. And so my mom was on medication for anxiety, stress, depression, all kind of issues. She was messed up. But I didn't know that. I was gone. I didn't see my mom for many, many months because I ran away. I didn't know this happened either. My mom completely broke down. Almost had like a nervous breakdown. And a woman came to my mom in Japan and said to her this. Now, if there's one thing you don't want to mess with in life, guys, many of you are probably married to one, and you'll know exactly what I mean. Do not mess with a Catholic Filipino woman, okay? Catholic Filipino women are the Green Berets of God. They are the special forces of heaven, okay? So they're everywhere, by the way. Filipinos, wherever there's one Filipino, there's like 100 more coming. They're going to have every auntie and uncle shacked up in that house before long. That's just how they work, you know? So sure enough, there was a lot of Filipino women married to American GIs in Japan. This Filipino woman comes up to my mom because she heard about my mom, what was happening with our family, and she said to my mom, now I'm going to imitate Filipinos. I love Filipinos. Salamat po. If you're Filipino, I'm not making fun of you. I love you. But you talk a little funny, okay? So this Filipino woman comes up to my mom and she goes, I know what you got to do. You got to talk to Father. You got to talk to him, right? The P's, the W's, the F, they get a little, you know. So my mom's like, huh? This Filipino woman is trying to tell my mom to go talk to a Catholic priest because he has the answer to her problems. My mom's like, yeah, big fat no on that one. I'm not going to talk to a priest. But you don't mess with you don't question a Filipino woman. She will nag the daylights out of you until you do what she tells you to do. Talk to him, right? So my mom's like, fine, lay off, man. So my mom goes and talks to a Catholic chaplain on the military base in Atsugi. That's where they were living. That priest changed my mom's life. My mom was Italian. Catholicism was in there somewhere. He just basically turned it on, switched it on. He told my mom about the Eucharist. Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you don't have life, Lucida, my mom. See, she was on a lot of medication, popping a lot of pills, trying to heal her maternal brokenness. Ain't no pill going to heal that. Not that it can't help, but it's not going to get to the root. He told my mom about confession, about how in the Bible Jesus says to his first priest, he who sins you forgive are forgiven. Not medieval men making this junk up. It's in the Bible. Told my mom about the saints. Told my mom about the Blessed Virgin Mary. Told my mom about a particular saint named Augustine and his poor mother named Monica. Said, Lucida, let me tell you this story. Long time ago, there was this mother who really loved Jesus, but her son didn't. He couldn't stand Christianity, hated it, mocked it, ridiculed it. And she was always trying to tell him, son, what you're looking for, and all the languages that you've learned, all the books that you've read, you're looking for Jesus. He is the truth. Oh, he mocked her. I don't need that. That's for you weak women. that's a crutch for you. I have found wisdom. What was the wisdom that he found, Augustine, before he became St. Augustine? He was one of these guys that could speak like 12 languages or something, but yet he would look at the stars to find meaning, or at his hand. Oh, this tells me about tomorrow. Really? Really? Why would he do that? Because he was a player. He was a sinner. He loved the ladies. Matter of fact, he shacked up with one, knocked her up, and had a kid through her, and had the audacity to name that kid, his child, a Deodatus, a gift from God. You sick pervert. That's before he became St. Augustine. He was messed up, a man like many of us, living for pleasure, basically a monkey. And then it got so bad. This is what the priest told my mom. He said, Lachita, it got so bad. They were in Africa, okay? He got so enraged by his mothers constantly trying to tell him about Jesus that he left her, ditched her, got on a boat and left the country to get away from his Christian mother. Guess where that boat was going? Italy. Wrong boat, dude. You know, you going to the mothership, bruh. You're going to get away from her, but you're going to encounter like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands are over there. And sure enough, he did. Went to Milan, walking by some beautiful building one day. Here's something going on in there, walks in. Here's some guy speaking in Latin, which he knew from something that looked like this, reading from a book. And he heard the words, tolle et lege, meaning take and read. So he did. He decided to read the scriptures. Oh, man. God got him so big, had such a radical conversion. And he said to my mother, you can be like Monica. God will use your tears, no matter how long it happens, your pain, your sorrow, your brokenness, for your own conversion and for your son, for your marriage, which I understand is on the rocks. This is your third one. This is the answer, Lachita. It's in the Catholic Church. There is no other answer. God bless that military chaplain. But you know, my mom couldn't follow through. She had to leave the country with my half-brother, Matthew. I didn't know that. I didn't know my mom was no longer living in Japan. Remember, I didn't see her for a long time. You know what I looked like at that time, actually? Now, I'm not a narcissist. I'm working on my ego and pride, but I do carry a big picture of myself all around the world. So they're going to put it up, I think, on the screen, too. So this is what I looked like at that time, okay? That was me at the time. Now, I didn't identify as a chick just because my hair was long, right? Now, I knew what was down below, you know what I'm saying? So that was me. That was me. Real hair. My hair in this picture, believe it or not, was short. When I was 20 going on 21, my hair was all the way down to my belt, all of it, bangs and everything. I didn't cut my hair for almost 7 years. Split ends all the way to the root, but it was long. That was me.
That's all the time we have this week. Tune in next week at this same time for the conclusion of this broadcast. Thank you for listening to another edition of WQPH's Local Matters. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast and hope you have a blessed week.